Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Talk on Let's Debate. Uh-oh, my browser lost connection to my mic. I have, I don't understand this. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Your mic's turned off, Farm.
I got that. Can somebody just start talking? Something just went wrong with my browser. Hold on. Okay, is it working now? Hello?
Yes.
Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Talk on Let's Debate. Tonight we're going to talk about the election being over and what happens next. But first, I would like to go over a couple of things like why we think the results came out the way they did. If anybody has any opinions on that, I've been talking to some Democrats in my area, and I've gotten a few opinions from them, and I definitely know the Republicans' opinion in my area. So, if anybody has any ideas on why it was why Donald Trump not only won the Electoral College but the popular vote this time, anybody? Anything?
I mean, I have some speculation on it, unless Sparrow wants to go first.
Go ahead.
So, my speculation on it just boils down to is Harris did not play an effective ground game in Pennsylvania. She didn't treat it as the battleground it actually was. She treated it as a safe bet because of how Pennsylvania voted in 2020, and she made most of her campaign, and this is a criticism I had of it. A lot of her campaign message didn't focus on policies; it focused on Orange Man bad, and she does not have the political capital that Biden did to run that kind of campaign. I think that's part of what shot her in the foot repeatedly, again and again and again. It's
Yeah,
because
and I
she focused solely on demonizing the right, and all that did was serve to polarize and segregate people into their sides even harder. And
yeah.
without having any political capital, the Republicans that flipped in 2020 because Biden came across as fairly moderate and not very extreme, whereas Kamala Harris does not really come across as moderate, despite the fact that she's probably more moderate than Biden was.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I think so too.
from speaking to a few Republicans up here, they were upset that there was no primary. They said it seemed like they just anointed her when Biden dropped out. We didn't have a chance. The Democrats did not have a chance for a primary to choose who they wanted to run, and
Well,
that
she
made.
didn't have a full cycle either.
I know she only
That's
had a
true.
She had
she only had a 107-day campaign.
Yeah.
So,
I think that I think that did a disservice to the campaign on her end.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's part of what I mean by just not having any real political capital. Because I mean, let's be honest here. Throughout throughout Biden's presidency and his administration, can we point to any really standout things that Kamala Harris was involved in?
Well, she did. She has cast more deciding votes in the Senate than any other vice president in history.
And how many average Americans actually pay attention to that?
Exactly. How many actually know that?
Whereas, let's look at the Obama administration with Biden as vice president. People can name quite a few more things that Biden did because he was very out in the open. He was very public. He was talking about tackling things. He was talking about things such as like ending broken windows policing in inner city neighborhoods. He focused on answering actual questions about DACA and the danger that was posed about it going away when Republicans took control of the Senate and the House in 2014. I mean, so it's like I can remember this just off the top of my head without having looked it up, and it's been a decade. But aside from that one little, quirky factoid that she's cast a whole bunch of deciding votes, it didn't really that doesn't really speak to her political acumen, other than the fact that, oh, okay, stuff in the Senate was so rigidly partisan that it came down to her about which way the vote was going to go.
Absolutely.
That's that doesn't really that doesn't communicate political acumen. That doesn't communicate the ability to lead. That just communicates statistics suck.
Well, and during the Biden administration, I mean, one thing I noticed is that Kamala wasn't present. She was never, I don't know, there was just no public presence from her. So it just seemed like there was something missing there, you know?
Potentially. And the thing is, because she didn't get out there and establish that public profile, even during her vice presidency after the 2020 election, it gave every right-leaning political pundit and talking head full full ability to just call her a diversity hire. That she was literally brought on the campaign as um, as political smokescreen because she's a person of color and she's female.
Well,
And
it
there
was
you
kind
go.
of like, I feel like advisors probably were like, okay, obviously Biden won't win a second term, and we need a last ditch effort to switch it up so that somebody else can win, not Trump. It seemed like just a mad dash for a scramble to get
Yeah.
Well,
somebody else.
let me ask you this: do you think Joe Biden would have performed better if he'd have stayed in?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know.
I think he would have. Set aside all the Sleepy Joe memes. Set aside all of the "Let's Go Brandon" nonsensical crap. It would still come down to someone who is a known quantity career politician who got moderates to vote more blue than he had than any other Democratic nominee had for a long time. He also had the incumbency thing going for him. So I mean, yeah, between the two, I firmly believe that Biden would probably have run a better campaign and may have actually won. Now, the kicker to that is, would he have made it to the end of term two?
This is true. We'll know, I guess, eventually.
Yeah, like
Um. Well,
he's the oldest sitting president
yes.
ever, and but now that's going to go to Donald Trump. And
Right.
this is some hardcore speculation on my part, but I think it warrants discussion, if for no other reason than to just address the elephant in the room, and that is the potential. Now this is like some 4D, 5D chess nonsense, but the potential that Kamala Harris was put up essentially as a paper tiger, as a sacrificial offering to let Trump win, because unless we get a new constitutional amendment that grants a president additional terms, this is it for him. He can never run for president again.
Do you
And
think
I'm
he do
and
you
it
think
makes me wonder. It makes me wonder to some degree if the Democratic Party didn't think about that and think, look, he can do a lot of damage, but if we let him win and he does some damage, this is potentially not as bad as someone worse than him in 2028, or him coming back even more radical in 2028.
well, two things. Did you watch the State of the Union, the last one that Joe Biden gave?
No, I did not get a chance to do that.
That was a very energetic, lively, clear, and concise Joe Biden. Right?
Yeah,
He was like a man on fire up there. Had that Joe Biden showed up to the debate, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
probably not.
But for some reason, either like they claimed he was sick and had jet lag, but I don't know.
I, but also, as old as Biden is, and as old as Trump is, like I'm not saying that it's just a Biden thing, but I mean, there's a difference between jet lag and what appears to be the early days of potential cognitive decline.
Right.
I think Biden has a genuine decline because of his age. I think that Trump doesn't because my thoughts are he's just running on Adderall. Do
I
you
mean,
did you
that's possible.
did did you guys see how much what the reports were about how much Adderall was flowing through the White House out of the pharmacy, the White House pharmacy
No, I must have missed
during
that one.
Mm-mm.
yeah, you should look into that. During Trump's presidency, they had a ridiculously high amount of Adderall and something else. Dang it.
Hmm.
There was a couple of things that were like record amounts out of their pharmacies.
The other one was probably herpes medication.
I
Sorry, that
gotta
was
look it up now.
that was cruel. That was cruel. I mean, although I guess I could have said hemorrhoid cream with all the butthurt speeches Trump made during his
Oh
presidency.
my
Personally,
goodness. Everyone was out to get him. Okay, wait, one more question before we get into what's happening, what's going to happen next. Um,
sure.
the number of political ads that were on prior to Tuesday, right?
Hmm.
The two most popular ones that were anti-Harris ads in here were the Borders Are one, and then
Okay.
the Bidenomics one. They ran almost nonstop, and I mean, there's not even a position in our government of Borders Are. They made that up.
Right. Right.
So
But the reason why that I think the reason why they were going for that and going for that messaging was because this is calling back to the smear campaigns that the Romney campaign did in 2012 against Obama, and Obama appointing czars to particular positions, even though they were, if they existed, they were already pre-existing cabinet postings, and others weren't actual things. They weren't positions of any kind. Um, they were just, I don't know. It was just some dumb shit, basically.
made up nonsense.
Yeah, it was made up nonsense. I mean, the only time I've ever seen any truth to anything like that was, and I think this is part of what killed Hillary Clinton's campaign, other than the fact that, let's be real, she has all of the charisma of a wet paper bag and a snowblower. She's just a boring person. Uh, and this is coming from someone who has met the woman. She truly does not have a personality. She doesn't have one. It's actually kind of weird. But anyways,
So she's like an
the
animated
whole thing
pantsuit.
basically. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong. The pantsuits look snappy as hell, but like anyway. But no, getting off track. Going back to what I was saying. The only time I've seen an accurate smear campaign run against anybody was Hillary Clinton in 2016 when they were talking about her wanting to appoint a sheriff of Wall Street that could force companies to break up. And that was actually a thing. Like it was actually on her campaign website at the time, where she wanted to create a a federally appointed position that served at the pleasure of the president that could essentially be a walking Sherman antitrust and just say, I think y'all are too big, time to break up. Now, granted, there was probably going to be a whole hell of a lot more nuance to it than that, but on a campaign website, there's only so much you can actually communicate. And what was being communicated came across as some pretty sketchy stuff.
Oh, okay. If I can circle back to the medication thing,
Absolutely.
it
Yes.
was Ambien. It was
Ambien. Okay.
yeah, it was Adderall and Ambien, so it was like a bunch of uppers and downers.
Okay, so they have to be really geeked on speed to keep up with the 90-mile-an-hour nonsense coming out of Trump,
And then
and
they
then they're
need to
like,
sleep because they
right.
got too much speed
So
in
it's
them.
like, okay,
and
he's leaving for 2 days. Now I'm gonna like pound 3 Ambien so I can sleep in a mini coma for the next couple of days.
and one of the problems apparently was the brand name drugs were being used instead of the cheaper
Generics.
generics. So, like it says here, I don't know, in a router's article says there was $46,500 from 2017 to 2019 on 8,900 unit doses of Ambien, um, which is 174 times more than the generic equivalent would have cost
Yeah,
for the same
that's
amount of
that's nutty.
doses. So, and then $98,000 on 4,180 unit doses of Provigil, a brand name stimulant, 55 times more than the generic equivalent would have cost.
Jeez. Yeah, that's nutty as a fruitcake right there.
Opiates and sleeping medications were not properly accounted for.
Not
Well, go
surprised.
go figure.
Now
So,
all that's missing from this party pack are the freaking lewds, man.
yeah,
Somebody getting their Bill Cosby on
I think they have
up
to
in
go
the
to
Lincoln
Mexico
bedroom.
for that, though.
Oh no, no,
Isn't
no.
that?
There's only one country on earth where lewds are still legal, at least as far as I know, and that's South Africa, because that's where Cosby got his.
Yeah, but
Oh,
still, Bill, he didn't have any trouble getting a hold of them.
No, he did not. Well, money can
I,
get you just about anything, Drew.
That's true. That's
Just
true.
about
I
anything.
mean, it's gotten a sentient cheat out of the White House twice. I
Yep.
mean, let's be real. Um, honestly, no. Like the person who said it best. The person who said it best was the late great Robin Williams. Every elected official should be made to wear a NASCAR style jacket that has patches and logos for every company that has donated
mm-hmm.
to them, whether it be through dark money, whether it be through actual FEC contributions, PACs, you name it, and it has to be plastered all over them every single time they give a public statement,
Because at least
an
then you know who they're
interview.
working for.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Exactly.
people deserve to know, and the size of the patches need to directly correlate to the amount of money they received. And I think if we had something like that, people might have actually voted for John Kerry in 2004 once they saw old GW and Dick Cheney walk in with a freaking Halliburton and logo the size of their entire back
Yeah,
walking
that
into that
they'd had to have a Halliburton back patch. I was going to say the same thing.
building. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, like walking in with a freaking Sons of Anarchy style vest, the back patch just nothing but Halliburton.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess that's how we got here.
Yeah, that's how we got here. I mean, and since Trump entered politics in 2016, although it coincided with the Citizens United
Oh yeah,
SCOTUS ruling.
that was one of their
Uh,
worst. That's
that
right up
oh,
there. Yeah.
absolutely, that was one of the absolute worst decisions they ever made,
Oh yeah.
and that just threw the doors off of corporate lobbying in politics in the absolute worst ways.
Yep. That
And it
just
was
unleashed
that
corporate
became
money.
yeah, and that became the single most expensive political campaign in American history,
Oh,
right up until
and
the 2020 campaign.
it, and Dan had a comment too about Kamala Harris being affiliated with the Biden government. Pro-Palestine activists were upset about the situation in Gaza, having Kamala be quite Israel allied during the Biden government.
Yeah, but there again, zero. That's going to come down on Dan. Is going to come down to the fact that Israel is an ally and Palestine is not. And that's why, no matter what anybody actually thinks or what anybody actually believes is going on over there, if they're in federal office and they're public facing federal offices, they're all pretty much going to be pro Israel for the most part, especially at the higher levels. And that's nothing to do with Zionism or anti Semitism or anything like that. Um, it's just that is the political game.
Yeah, but Drew,
Nobody.
Drew, they are our allies because they're supposed to be a stabilizing force in the Middle East, and right now they are destabilizing a lot of it.
They've been a constant source of destabilization since their inception in 1946.
So, but that's why they say they're our allies, that we are allied with them because they're a
Yeah,
stabilizing force in the Middle East.
yeah,
By whose metric?
and yeah, and tilting a pinball machine makes you win faster.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you know?
So yeah, where do we think we're headed now? This is
Project
where,
2025.
yeah, I kind of imagine that a whole lot of that's gonna just become
I don't.
policy.
I don't think as much of it is going to make it through as people think.
So what about, okay, how do you guys think about Trump saying that he's never read it, that he doesn't have anything, he doesn't know anything about it?
Well,
Um,
any
Like, do
book
you
that
believe
mentions
that?
any book, any paper, document, anything that mentions him that many times, he knows he's familiar with it.
yeah, there. Do I believe that he didn't know anything about it? To sum it up as politely as I possibly can, no fucking way. He knew. Any like Farm said, anything that mentions a person by name over 300 times
Yeah,
is going to catch the eye. Maybe he didn't read it himself. Okay, fine. I don't take him to being much of a person who reads things very often, anyways.
Oh yeah.
He has
He ta-
people to do that for him.
he
Um,
talks about how the Bible's his favorite book, and I doubt he's ever cracked it.
no, because he called it freaking 2 Timothy.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
no, I remember that.
It's Second Timothy in
It's second,
shorthand. It's second
exactly.
book of Timothy if you're gonna be formal about it. Like the dude, and then the whole thing of like how somehow he still has the evangelicals just deep throating his fingers when he's signing Bibles left, right, and center. Like it
He's
makes no
it's
sense.
it's
Like
so weird. He's like the as seen on TV president. It's like he shills everything.
oh
Shoes,
yeah, he's
bags,
Now,
hats, just
now, now,
Donald Trump.
Bibles.
now I got to keep an
Donald
eye on the back room because Elijah might be joining us.
Yeah, Donald Trump is the living embodiment of one of my favorite songs of all time, "The Cult of Personality" by Living Color.
Oh hell yeah!
Like it's literally in the song. Uh, it's
Oh my god, if that Lee Greenwood crap gets stuck in my head one more time.
if what?
If that Lee Greenwood goddamn song gets stuck in my
Oh
head one
no,
more
no,
time.
not that "God Bless the USA" thing.
No,
Oh, I hate that. Oh,
first heard that song in boot camp. Man, I didn't even like it back then.
it's just
So I'm just looking over. So I somehow found myself on project2025.org,
uh-huh.
and
Oh boy.
I'm just kind of laughing to myself.
Yeah, we don't want to start reading through that. Well, you can if you want to point out some highlights.
Well, just even it starts out with like Project 2025 is a historic movement brought together by over 100 respected organizations from across the conservative movement to take down the deep state and return the government to the people. Like just
That,
that first sentence is just
That has got to be one of the most self-congratulatory mental masturbation messages I've ever heard.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
It's a product of more than 400 scholars and
yeah,
policy experts.
that term scholar is doing a lot more heavy lifting than I think people are ready for. And the
they have
freaking thing,
degrees like Kent
he
Hovind has
wants
a
to
degree.
appoint. It isn't it true that he wants to appoint friggin' RFK
Yes,
to
Oh God.
health secretary or
Yes.
whatever the hell
yes,
it is?
yes. Be
That's
health and
great.
wouldn't it be?
Yes, the guy who wants to shoot up horse medicine,
Like the
and
nuttiest person possible in the country.
yeah, the dude who thinks chiropractic is actual science.
Well, I mean, do we know which one we're talking to at any time, him or the brainworm?
I'm pretty sure it's always the brainworm.
Yeah.
It's just which side of the bed did the brainworm wake up on that day?
Man,
Was it in the left? Was it in the left frontal lobe, or was it hanging out somewhere near the parietal that day?
anybody
Well,
else
and
have
that
just a
guy
hard time
has to be on.
listening to him? Sorry.
He has to be on steroids. That guy has to be. There's just no way.
Yeah, like his vocal cords are like shot by the
Oh
sound
yeah.
of it.
And I mean, you want the guy who picked up a roadkill bear and dumped it in Central Park in charge of Health and Human Services, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. And he's under investigation for taking a whale head. I mean, what, you just drive around with a chainsaw? How are you gonna behead a whale?
Right, and then also like you want to, and this is the thing that just still doesn't make sense to me is he still wants to appoint Ben Carson to HUD secretary again.
Well, you know what Ben Carson did the first term? The whole term?
Nothing.
He
I
he
don't think he
re
did anything.
Oh yeah, he did. He had a big controversy about spending $50,000 to redecorate his office.
Yeah,
But
that
that
sounds like something Ben
and that's
Carson would
the
do.
only thing that you heard out of that office the entire 4 years. I think he was
Yeah.
just ducking so that Trump wouldn't fire him.
You know what's weird is having, okay, on their list of some of their top issues for 2020, the project 2025,
Uh-huh.
is having, like, they have a bullet point list, and one of them is ban biological males from competing in women's sports.
Yep.
Like, like that's one of their, like, it, I don't know, that's one of their top priorities apparently. I feel like there's a lot of other things that should be prioritized above who's in sports.
I'm having to direct Elijah. He can't find
Maybe,
this should not be that hard, guy.
I mean, it's not really a, I don't know. It doesn't really seem like a policy issue.
No,
Not on the
it
same
really doesn't.
tier. Yeah, not on the same tier as some of these other things.
Yeah, and people forget that, like, yes, Mandate for Leadership is a 900-page document, 922 pages in total,
Mm-hmm.
but that's primarily just a summary. To understand truly what they want to do, you actually have to look for the little superscript numbers and then go find the articles, these full articles that have been written at the Heritage for the Heritage Foundation website. To really piece it together and dig through the mountain of baffling bullshit that they hide all this crap behind, and it's bonkers.
Oh, they have like a, they have like this scrolling thing here that
Mm-hmm.
shows all of their supporters.
Yeah.
That's handy.
Yeah.
Jeez, I hate this keyboard sometimes. Sorry. Keep going.
You're good. You're good.
Texas Public Policy Foundation, Susan B. Anthony, Pro Life America, Hillsdale College. Family Research Council, I knew they'd be in there. The Heritage Foundation.
Oh yeah, the Heritage Foundation is the driving force behind the mandate for leadership. They were also heavily involved in Trump's first administration.
Oh,
So it's like
absolutely.
there's no way he doesn't know about them. He knows. And sitting there claiming that he doesn't is like him sending a message 3 hours after January 6th starts saying, "Hey, let's keep it peaceful, guys." That's like watching two people beat the shit out of each other in a bar and sitting in the corner and quietly saying, "No, wait, stop," where no one can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just no.
Dan says he's happy about Bernie Sanders getting reelected.
Yeah.
I miss Bernie Sanders being
Well, somehow
kind
Pennsylvania
of.
held the state house as well, barely
Okay.
one seat majority.
Well,
Can't cut that,
majority's majority.
can't cut that much closer though.
No, not really.
So yeah, so what do you think's gonna happen? Like um, January 21st, like Ukraine gets nuked and mass deportation start.
No, I don't think it'll. I don't think it'll ever be to that degree. Truth be told, if I'm being totally honest, I mean, like we saw all the bloviating and blathering that the that Donald Trump did during the 2016 campaign. How he was going to do all these different things. How he was going to make Mexico pay for a wall, and all this other stuff, and he did basically none of it. He just spent the entire 4 years in office talking about it,
Um,
and then like they built a few sections of wall that had already had funding approved and were going to be built in spite of anything that Donald Trump said or did. But he called that a win for himself.
Palladium said the volume was a little low, so I turned it up.
Okay.
We'll see if that helps.
yeah, I was gonna bring that to your attention if you hadn't seen it.
I mean, in all honesty, the the thing that Donald Trump did with his first presidency, for the most part, was pull out a gun, shoot it at a barn, and then went and painted a bullseye around the bullet holes.
That's funny.
I
But
mean,
isn't that his thing? Like he was always like his whole life he had to be the winner. He like he wasn't supposed to lose anything as a
yeah,
child. He was
That's
always,
that's what his niece said. That
yeah.
but it's like,
Well, it comes across the same as like, the whole thing about people. A lot of people just no longer being interested in movies that star Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham because they both have writers in their contracts now that state that their characters can't lose. They have to be the good guys, and they have to win.
well, it's like Trump is the outcome of what happens when you participation trophy like somebody their entire life.
yeah, pretty much.
Like, oh, he gets an award. He gets an award. Like he failed the test. He gets an award.
Well,
Just
yeah, it's the Chevy model is what I call it because the whole reason the running joke in the automotive industry is that yeah, Chevy's got all these awards because they made the awards up and then gave it to themselves because they have controlling interest in JD Power.
mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's like it's the General Motor way of doing things.
Yeah, I guess his father wasn't very. He wouldn't be very happy if like Mary Trump. She was told not to lose, or I mean, not to win games and stuff as kids. She had to let Donald Trump win.
I
There
mean,
you
that
go.
Otherwise,
wouldn't surprise me, but truth be told, I'm pretty sure we could find that with 80% of politicians. Like, let's be real about that. A person doesn't become a politician because they're a good person, generally speaking.
I don't know. I feel like Bernie Sanders is a good person. He's like one
He's
of the only politicians I think that
he's one of
actually
those
has a good heart.
exceptions that demonstrates the rule of just how shitty every other politician actually is.
I
But
mean, if
he's also
somebody,
not immune to it. He's also not immune to it. Like, look at what was it, 2006, when he was chair of the Veterans Affairs Administration, and he tried to push through a 60, yeah, it was like a $60 million budgetary increase, except less than 1/100th of a percent was actually going to go towards either veteran benefits payouts or expansions in services or improvements in quality of care. They were all going to upper level and executive salaries.
Palladium says that she thinks a fair amount do go in with good intentions, but get corrupted along the way.
yeah,
Maybe in other parts of the world, I don't see that in the United States, not at the federal level. That Not at the federal level. At the local level, sure, we see things like that all the time.
All the time.
But you look at your Fed level politicians. The majority of them did not start out as like city council people and school board members. They came out of these Ivy League schools and a resume padding military career that was just enough to be able to say, hey, they put on a uniform and strutted around for a couple of years.
Not very many of them actually at this point.
No, not so much anymore, but that used to be the thing. Come out of an Ivy League school, go play at being a first lieutenant for a couple of years, and then skate right on past mommy and daddy's offices on Park Avenue into a federal elected position and stay there until you freaking die.
Oh, you're telling the J.D. Vance story.
That's honestly the story of basically every politician elected since 1960.
Well, but the thing is, not as many of them serve anymore. I mean, Barack Obama
No,
never served.
no. After about 88, 90, not as many actually serve. But like the majority of your people that are currently sitting, yeah, that's kind of what they did.
I think a lot of them get corrupted when it comes to the donors. It's like, oh shit, well now I have to cater to.
Yeah, they gave
I,
me all
I
this.
honestly, I honestly don't think they get corrupted by donors. I think they're corrupt before they even make it onto the ballot. And be, because you look at it this way: the people who are becoming politicians now are the proteges of politicians that have come before them. Almost all of them seem to have some sort of business or family tie to an older, earlier political dynasty,
Hmm.
but they have a different last name, so nobody pays any attention to that. Because it's like, oh, it's a different last name. They're an unknown. They're a new dark horse candidate coming to preach about the real issues. It's the same three raccoons in a different trench coat.
Yeah, but honestly, the only two we've had that fit that mold lately, Donald Trump and Barack Obama, because the rest of them were all from like political dynasties. Bush,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, they've all
there
been
he
from.
is.
I mean, but you also have,
Welcome, Elijah.
hey,
I tried joining on the phone. It just doesn't work. I don't know I don't know what's happening at all.
Streamyard is always a pain in the ass when it comes to mobile devices.
It is,
Yeah, maybe it might be a StreamYard thing. I don't know.
and that's why we're gonna try EvMux with the next one because it's newer, it's maybe better, more stable.
Hello, Elijah.
It has,
Hey, what's going on?
Welcome.
How you all doing?
we're doing well.
Good. I tagged you, so I don't know if you saw.
I
But
saw.
yeah.
You kind of missed the first part where you're talking about like how we got here because you made all those predictions the other day in your debate.
And the people are wondering, like, how did you do that? I'm like, this is very obvious, And but no, so wait, so what were you guys talking about? I only caught like I think the last 10 minutes of what you were talking about.
Oh, well, we were talking about the point that I was trying to drive home was that when it comes to the federal level and politicians, I don't really think any of them actually go in with good intentions and haven't for the better part of 5 decades. That they're corrupt before they even get on the ballot.
Even Jimmy Carter, come on, even Jimmy Carter, the
You know
simple
why
peanut
though?
Yeah,
farmer.
even Jimmy Carter. I'll say that even about Jimmy Carter.
Well,
He's a
I
he's a
think
good he
that
is a good person but a bad politician.
Oh,
Sparrow
really?
had it
well,
right.
I think that they can be. I think they can be corrupt ahead of time, but I think that you know, the donors corrupt them so much more.
And
You
Yeah,
know,
no, they definitely add fuel to the fire, but that doesn't stop them from being corrupt before they even hit the gate.
no, the
it's
donors,
just
they're the ones who usually have an ear first. So a good example was my last debate that I had on Levin's channel. It was about who was going to Trump versus Harris. I tried making the case for Trump, and I was saying, well, look at Anthony Blinken. He was a donor, and he was Joe Biden's best friend for 20 years. Then he gets the position of State Department, and his connections are crazy.
Yeah,
His stepfather is connected to being a lawyer for Robert Maxwell. That's Ghislaine Maxwell's father, and his company that he co-founded in 2017 is called West Exec. They were donating money to uh, to Joe Biden, his campaign in 2019 run, and then he becomes State Department head, and his team was the transition team of taking Trump's White House positions to what Biden's White House positions will be. And so I'm like, yeah, that's so obvious. The donors pretty much control. And I wrote my own article, a Substack article, Trump versus Harris, donors and policy. And the donors align up almost exactly for if you go to their 2020 donors or 2019 donors, it's like the same as these donors. Like what they're going to pass, what interest they're trying to get ahead on, right? Because that's
yeah,
not just their donors; they're just like they want to have a head up, right? A leg up. They want to be first. So what policy are you going to do? What executive order are you going to do? What kind of diplomat are you going to put in? And they want to, get an ear first so they can make either a trade ahead of time or they can, whatever action they need to take for their businesses if they have offshore businesses or whatever. So yeah, it's the donors. It's always the donors. It's always the donors.
exactly. The donors and the PACs. Those are the ones that you have to watch out for.
I almost got a near perfect prediction. I was a little off with the popular vote by 0.3, but I was like, yeah. As soon as the inflation happened in 2021 and 2022, and then Biden kind of removed some Jones Act restrictions, then put them back on, I was like, oh, you're setting up either yourself if you're going to run again or whoever is running next time to lose. Because if you just got rid of the Jones Act, then the inflation would have came right down because all those PPP and CARES Act, money and currency went in to small business and people's spending. And so they had way too much spending that Trump passed, or Congress passed and Trump signed off of, and that was not good. And so I feel like they kind of set themselves up to take the L, And then not only that, you also had I think 14.7 million less votes, so there was a lot of disenfranchised independent voters, and I think progressives maybe. I don't know exactly because
They just chose to sit this one out.
they chose to say,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and apparently there was a huge influx of Amish voting.
That,
I
that's
saw that.
that's basically what flipped Pennsylvania right there.
Yeah.
Them Southern
Did you
Amish vote.
predict that, Elijah? Did you
No,
predict
I did not
Amish would
predict
come out?
I didn't, there's no way you're gonna whoa,
That-
Amish vote coming in, like no one's doing that.
And it's really weird because it's only certain Amish because the ones up here don't vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
selective Amish.
Yep.
But
But also a lot of it, what flipped it, what I guess triggered the influx of Amish voting. A lot of
when
it
they
just had
raided
to
Amos
do,
Miller's farm.
yeah,
Yeah.
was that raid. And so it's like, oh, you came after him. Guess we're just going to go fuck up your election now.
And they did. They succeeded.
But they alone would not be responsible for the massive voting disparity.
What
Nope.
was
But
the
essentially 14 million people sitting it out. That's about half of your moderate and independent voting bloc.
I'm pretty sure that was more than, I think it was all of them, right? I think not all of them. All
I
of
don't
it.
think it was all of them. I don't think it was all of them because like I know a lot of moderates.
No, I know, not
voted.
all. Right.
But like,
I would say,
but also I think there's a lot more than just 14 million moderates in the U.S.
no, there's about 28, I think.
Yeah, it's like 28 to 30. It's 28 to 30.
14.
And so it's like half of them didn't just said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, 14.7 is not a small number. Like, that's your voting.
No,
they determine the election essentially.
To an extent, yeah. That like the moderate vote is what did it. When you really come down on it, it was the moderate vote. And when you've got two political candidates who just nobody really likes,
they don't align with the moderates' philosophy.
Yeah, neither of them align with centrism. Neither of them align with moderate policies. And then you have, I would say, a good chunk. I would say at least a sizable chunk of Democrats in some of the other states, especially like Georgia, just didn't vote.
I like his little with the camera.
Yeah, his little
I
headline.
predicted the election almost perfectly.
Yeah.
I saw that as soon as he popped in. I'm like, I knew it. I knew he was gonna have something like that on there.
It's like, I mean, he earned it. Like on this one, he did. I mean, like, I saw Trump winning. I never bothered trying to make predictions down to percentage points, but like overall, yeah, no, it was pretty clear once Biden ducked out that for me it was over.
Well, yeah, there was a couple instances where you're like, huh, that's an interesting decision to make. You might base off of that,
Yeah, it's not so much as even yeah, like it was a bad call, but it may have been the only call they could make at the time.
But they didn't. You had 3 months to just ram someone down the public's throat. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, and then and on top of that, it's your VP that has basically no political capital at all, but is trying to run the exact same campaign playbook that you did in 2020. But it worked in 2020 because you had the moderate vote and you had decades of political capital at the federal level, even though a good chunk of it was really shitty, like that 1990 omnibus crime bill.
And now they're going to lose it all because they lost the House, Senate. Like they're done, I think.
Yeah.
Before you got here, Elijah, I asked the other participants if Joe Biden had stayed in. What do you think would have happened?
I'll be honest, he probably would have done a lot worse because his approval ratings were way lower.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have.
Honestly, prospectively, that would have looked way worse for the Democratic Party.
That
would have killed him
if he lost. Yeah,
this was bad, but keeping Biden would have been like Jonestown cult suicide.
I feel like his advisors were like, "Hey, this is not going to end well. We need to do something to change it up really quick and try to make a mad dash to see if we can win."
What are the advisors doing? Just sitting there doing nothing? Like, look at the Gallup polls. Look at what the country thinks about your position.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just pay attention to what the public
wants. His approval ratings were definitely tanking.
Yeah.
I still don't think he would he have lost? Yeah, probably, because
Definitely.
were, despite all the comments about jet lag and all that, I still think we were seeing some fairly serious precursors of cognitive decline and mental decline.
That another thing too. Like as soon as like you have a majority of the media establishment, and then you have congressmen saying, "Nah, I had dinner with him. He's fine." No, he was not. You guys are bullshitting. You know, like everyone knew you were lying. Don't continue to lie, right?
Yeah, it was.
That
And
hurts Trump,
also,
right? When Trump
Well,
does that,
Elijah,
BS.
you probably
It's a
watched
lie.
the State of the Union, right? The last one that Joe Biden did. Now, if
Yeah.
that Joe Biden would have showed up at the debate, it would have been a different story. At least in the debate,
Yeah.
it's like
He
two
he
completely
rested up a
different
lot.
people.
You know, exactly. He rested up, did the State of the Union, looked fine, and he wasn't resting when he was getting ready for the debate, and that's the result.
yeah, because he was campaigning, and he's
Yep.
an 80-year-old man. I mean, like,
Yeah, you need rest.
True.
Like I don't know, sorry to tell you, you need to rest up. You know, you can't
yeah,
just all right,
They're
24/7.
they're both too dang old.
You know,
They're both old.
they're both yes,
of course,
they
both
are
old.
both old. They
But
are
like,
both old.
like
Like,
I think the media did more damage to the Dems than the Dems did to like themselves. To be honest with you.
yeah, well, a lot of it comes down to nobody trusts modern media anymore.
Corporate
And
media, you know, no one.
yeah, almost all modern media is corporate media these days.
I've seen
Even
it shift a
YouTube,
lot though. Like
even YouTube
grassroots,
is corporate media.
you know. Yeah, maybe YouTube counts. I didn't kind of consider them, but I'm seeing a lot more from like Twitter, X, or Rumble, or WhatsApp, or whatever. Like people are switching. They're not they're not saying, "Let me go tune out what MSNBC has today, and I'll just watch it for 3 hours straight." No one's really doing that, you know.
No,
I mean, older folks are, you know, but not like the
that
younger
generation of
population.
news media is definitely dying. Like it
I
has
used
been
to watch
for
MSNBC like almost nightly, and but the last few years I haven't. Like I can care less.
Yeah,
no,
because like some of the stories are stupid. Like,
yeah,
oh,
like
she bombed the Jones pipeline. Really?
I'm one of those people that actually got a ground news subscription, and I actually like it. It does a pretty good job.
Yeah, SNL.
It doesn't catch everything. It doesn't catch everything, but
Perplexity is good as well. It's an AI. People use that for news. It's a good
yeah, yeah.
AI. But okay, so the reason I predicted this so well is because I was following these pollsters called Atlas Intel. Their methodology is pretty good. Like they follow Gallup, they use Alan Lichtman's strategy, and then the third thing is they do the anti-establishment polling. So they're the guys who go out like, are you happy with this, or is this institution this XYZ? That's important because moderate centrists and a giant chunk of the Republican base doesn't like the establishment. So if that wing grows or it leans to a certain way, you can kind of expect those people are going to vote for. It doesn't matter if the candidate who they are, but if the establishment attacks them, they're going to vote for them. And that's how
So
the anti-establishment side is that's the growing concern and base there. You know.
so Elijah, I know you didn't know about it, but okay, your opponent from the last debate also had a prediction.
Kamala would win.
What?
Did they predict Kamala would win?
Yeah, and in fact, I can send you the screenshot of their prediction. But they predicted Democrats would have 276 and Republicans 262. I will share this with you.
I think it may
another thing,
have actually been that close.
Yeah, go ahead.
If Biden was still in, if he was not experiencing decline, and was able to do as much showing at that debate as he did at State of the Union, maybe it would have been that close. Maybe. And maybe he could have eked out the win. Again, maybe. The incumbency role would have played, would have been doing a lot of heavy lifting had Biden stayed in the race.
And by them not having a Democratic primary, you know, and Joe Biden just dropping out and basically anointing Kamala, a lot of Democrats even felt a little disenfranchised because they didn't get to pick their candidate.
Yep.
Yeah, because there were a ton of
A lot of
people.
things they did that cost them the election,
Yeah, and also this was one thing I was speculating about. It's like this is going to come across as like some psychotic Star Trek 45D chess nonsense, but to some extent, it almost seems like the waiting to the last minute and then dropping out and then putting Kamala Harris up as basically a sacrificial lamb and letting Trump take it for the express purpose of if they let him have his second term, he can't come back again, not to the same office.
That was a bad sacrifice because now you gave them the Senate, House, President, Court.
They probably weren't counting on losing. They probably
Yeah.
weren't counting on losing the Senate and the House.
But like, if Trump is smart, which I think is gonna bring some people who know what they're talking about on his team, if he like gets rid of the Jones Act, if he gets rid of certain compliance laws, and he allows the market to grow, there's no stopping like the 2028 election. It looks like it's possible. I don't know, I'm saying it's going to happen, but it is very possible that they could flip New York. If New York gets flipped and stays red, they're not winning majority of any elections. So
yeah, I don't see that happening. I just
you
don't.
may not, but listen, I predicted this one. Just be careful in the next one. All right, no, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, I don't see them flipping New York.
You think
I
they're
just
going to
don't.
run Vance?
Maybe, or maybe they'll just continue the Trump line, right? Some of his sons will run.
Yeah,
I
I see.
DM'd
Well,
you the screenshot of the prediction.
Check it out.
it will definitely not be Eric, Elijah. He seems
No.
he doesn't seem very fond of that son.
no, he really
But when
doesn't.
Barron's old enough, just remember, I said so.
Maybe, you know what? I considered that maybe Barron will be the complete opposite of his father.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, yeah, probably not, but
there's at least a possibility, considering that chances are by the time Barron Trump is old enough to run for the presidency, Don Sr. is most likely going to be dead. Because Trump will be 80 next year.
Yeah,
Trump will
Trump
be 80 next year. And Barron still has 17 years.
Yeah.
I
think
don't
Trump's got about 7 more
see
years on him. That's it.
I don't see
Well, he
I don't
could run for the House
I
at
don't see Donnie
25.
making it to 8. I don't see Donnie making it to 100. I just
No,
don't.
but he's like kind of overweight, so.
Can he run for the House at 25?
Oh,
27 is the youngest.
27 or something.
27 for House and Senate. 35 for the presidency and the vice presidency.
Here's another thing. So all the like pollsters from 538, they should have realized.
Or no, 25. I think it's 25 for the House and 27 for Senate. I think it is.
That sounds right. I think.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So a lot of the pollsters, like Nate Silver, even Alan Lippman himself, is not a pollster, but he creates the keys, the 13 keys, and like some of the pollsters. So Siena College, all these pollsters were having like a dead even. You can't have that on your side because they admit years ago that there's a bias in their polls. It's about 5% ish.
Yeah.
So if they're tied, that means he's above water 5. Like she's below, he's above 5. If she's up 3, that means he's up like 2, she's down. So there needs to be she needs to be up 5 to 6 or 7 to be comfortable to win. She can't be tied. She can't be like 4 up. She has, or whoever has the candidate's going to be have to be above 5.
The fact that she even got to being rated as tied was honestly kind of impressive.
I mean, yeah, but that should have told you like all these pollsters. Nah, she's going to win in a landslide. Like what?
No, the second that she was announced, the second it was announced that she was going to be running in Biden's place, it was over.
You think so?
That's the day that announcement happened. It was a foregone conclusion.
That might have been. I think what called it for me was like when I looked at the on Gallup, it was like trust in institutions. It was like lowest ever. I'm like, oh, that's not good. That's not good at all.
No.
And then the second polling that I saw from Gallup was the biggest concern was the economy, and who early Gallup polls were going for. They're going more for Trump than Biden at the time because they thought Biden was going to run again. And I was like, oh, that's a sign that there's going to be a revenge vote or maybe the middle finger vote saying, like, I can't trust you again with this presidency. So we're just going to go vote for the other guy. No matter what news came out, I seemed like that solidified it. And I was like, okay, that sounds like he's going to win. So then I was checking the polls. I was like, let's go look at Nate Silver's. Look at this guy's like, this is stupid methodology. Let's go look at Atlas. Looked at Atlas, and I was like, oh, that seems more indicative of reality. And I was like, all right, I'm going to make a stake. And I did win some money, but I made a stake saying this is how it's going to turn out. And then all the people who were hating on me, silent. And I was like, yeah, well, pay attention next time. Don't be biased. Try to put your biases. And I'm very biased, right? But I rip into candidates, right? So I have a Substack. I created an article, Trump versus Harris donors. I'll try to link it or whatever. Or
I was going to say, you are biased.
I could put a year.
You're paying attention.
Yeah, right. So, and I was ripping into them. I was like, your donor sucks. This donor sucks. This is so she has worse. That's another thing. She has worse donors. He's gonna get the win because people are not stupid. They're gonna look into your donors.
Yeah, but also I can't remember, but I seem to remember there being some news that came out shortly before Biden dropped out, that there were donors that had gone for Biden in 2020 that had jumped ship and donated to the Trump campaign.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I saw like one, maybe two articles on it. I'd have to try and dig them back up. I'm not sure how much water that actually held, because if they did, it would take digging through open secrets for a while to try and find out who it was and how they did it.
Do you remember there was a story that came out where it was like after the debate and then Trump gets shot in the ear, and then I think some like leading Democrat heads in the House were like, we gave up and we sacrificed the election at Trump. Do you remember that story that came out?
Vaguely.
Yeah, I think the Young Turks covered it. And I was like, wait a minute. Did they just say we sacrificed the campaign or the run to Trump? Well, that's it. That was the kill switch. I was like, all right, he's gonna win.
Yeah, honestly, the first assassination attempt, you could say the first assassination attempt kind of just you're done at that point, because that's gonna solidify your voting base like nobody's business, because it's like, oh, someone's trying to kill you.
Yeah, sure. Here's the things that she could have done to win, right? So now here's the thing. I'm like, all right, this is how she could have won. More prosecutions and indictments for Epstein. There you go. Would have sold it because Trump looks, there's some articles on Trump that could have gotten him. But nope, she just let that go. He was the prosecutor, so she could have just said, like, well, let me see the court. Let me see some of these investigations. Let me just look into it. Hey, have Christopher Wray, come talk to me. Let's talk about what you've done so far. What new investigations you've done. Nope, she didn't touch that at all. It could have won it for her. And then the other one was the second attempted shooter. What was his name? That guy who's like Ukraine kook.
The dude who took a shot with an AK-47 with open sights from 400 yards. Thought he would hit anything.
One of the golf course.
No. He didn't fire any shots. That was them shooting at him.
Right. And I'm saying, so if they did a further investigation there and said, we don't stand for X, Y, Z, we'll prosecute because of this reason. Instead of, I think something got dropped, right? Didn't some charges get dropped or some crap like that? I don't remember specifically, but like they could have used the DOJ a lot harder, right?
They could have. They really could have.
What happened? Like, how do you? I don't understand. I just don't understand that. And maybe Epstein was just too big, which I think, because if you looked at my work on him, pretty sure he's way too big.
I think
but,
so. I think
you could have used some. Right.
Yeah.
Now Trump's going to be revengeful. He's going to be very vengeful, and I know who he's going to go after. He's going to go after the Bronfman family, go after maybe the Wexner family, but he's definitely going to go after certain donors that were on her side that had links to Epstein, like Reid Hoffman, or like I have it all in my article there.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he's going to get the anti-establishment points even more. So which means Republicans are going to now look really good in the 2028 election. So it
Yeah.
looks really bad. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like the Dems might have just nailed themselves in the coffin with that one.
It's possible. It's possible. But again, that's going to hinge a lot on whether or not they flip or see at least a trend that speaks towards flipping in New York once midterm elections roll around in 2026.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think
that's
going to be
attention to that the most.
I think 2026 is going to be the thing to watch more than anything else, because I think the midterms are going to be really what tell us what's going to happen.
Oh, he's on his phone.
Right.
What?
I can post your article in the chat if you'd like. Did we lose him?
Do it.
No, he muted because he got a phone call of some kind.
Elijah, you're muted.
Yeah, he got a phone call.
Oh. I didn't know if that he was deafened too.
There, I posted his article in the chat.
Yeah. So what do we think's going to happen now?
Yeah,
what do we think
we're going now, Elijah?
So far, I'm not too sure because he hasn't picked all the positions yet. What he did pick was
Chief of Staff.
Susie Wild.
Yeah.
Right. She's a neocon, which is not good news. And she has ties to Big Pharma. She worked with them on contracts. And I'm like, this is a stupid pick. And so that does not look like a good head start. We're going to see some more positions he's going to put people in. I think he's also talking with another neocon. Again, like this is he has a good chance of screwing this up. Like
well,
he can
apparently she ran the best campaign though.
Yeah, I mean she's like regulated him, but like anyone can kind of do that. But 1 second, here is another guy he put in. What was this? He's talking to.
We talked about RFK.
Brian Hook, that's his name. He was in the Bush administration. He held key roles like the U.S. Special Rep for Iran and senior policy advisor to the Secretary of State.
Mm-hmm.
He was instrumental in negotiating the Abraham Peace Accords and he led the efforts against Iran's nuclear ambitions. Like, all right, so you're picking neocons and warhawks. That's what you're doing. That's not a good sign. We're going to see some more picks coming out, but it looks like he's definitely going right now towards we're going to sanction Iran more, do some other crap against Iran. Just have Israel do almost whatever it wants, and that looks like the route. Now, right now, we just look like what his foreign policy is going to do. His positions of promising that 3-minute, 30-second video on Twitter saying we're going to go after the deep state and intelligence in our media. Again, it sounds really good, but you better know what you're talking about. You better, I know who these people are. He might not, so we'll see about that. Yeah, RFK, he's going to do a lot of damage. Recently, I think some of the heads at FDA and some pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, Merck, and they had like a Zoom meeting, a private Zoom meeting or something like that. So it seems like they're getting ready to either lawyer up or just protect their assets or something. That was weird. We'll see what happens there. I'm pretty sure he's going to make him HHS health secretary.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, and
I'm pretty sure that's where he's going to put him.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. Again, I could be wrong, but
but it makes sense in all honesty.
Do you think him and Elon will be able to work together? That's two enormous egos, man. I don't think so.
No, I definitely think so because those egos, if regulated correctly, can turn into a big spear and it could just ram something in. Like that could definitely be a thing.
Especially if they're both as big of accelerationists as I think they are.
We'll see.
I think Trump will use him until he doesn't need him anymore.
Right, but Elon Musk is a hardcore accelerationist, and
he's got a big following. I think Trump's keeping him for sure.
Yeah, he's got a big following, and
yeah, exactly. That's like too much of a risk for him. He's like, no, we're not going to get rid of Elon. We're going to keep him.
Yeah.
Like if he messes this up, it looks like it's gonna be the reverse, right? So it looks like Dems may sweep next election cycle, but if he doesn't, game over. Republicans might take it for I don't know how many years, but they realize what they're doing and how they can not screw up, like just pass more market bills, more stuff that's gonna reduce inflation. Get rid of the Jones Act. If you get rid of the Jones Act, he might, they might secure it for sure. That's like the biggest thing for on their side. That's what I'm also hearing, like some insiders. Like so at ANC, we're connected to some of Elon's friends and whatever, the PayPal mafia they call them. And so we talk to them, and we kind of see what they're going to try and like get Trump and Congress, not just Trump, but like some of the newly elected House and Senate seats to try and pass, right? Get rid of the Jones Act seems to be something they're going to try to do. So if I'm right, if that's what they're doing, if it's on the truth, that might be just that's it. I don't know if the I don't know. I think Republicans are going to just keep a lot of their positions for a decent amount of time if they get rid of the Jones Act. That's my prediction. So.
Okay, so what about immigration?
Don't really know. It's possible he could do like, all right, we're directing all National Guard and service members to join with ICE and the Homeland Security to now round up millions of people and just send them to El Salvador, Mexico, Venezuela. Maybe
go door to door, knocking on the door.
right, either doing that, or he'll just deport like the ones who have a bad record, right? So ones who are just not showing up for their court dates, the ones who are just whatever criminal record or whatever. I could see him doing that more likely. So I think that's the route they're going to take. Like, oh, you didn't show up for your secondary date to claim asylum, you're just going to get deported, or whatever. I see that's the route that's going to happen for sure. That should be it for now. Once I got to take a call again. Sorry, but
that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, like, are we going to see another separation of parents and children and cages situation all over again?
It's definitely possible. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the last time, truth be told. Mainly because that's not truly a principal part of his campaign. He's mentioned it, but he didn't mention it as much this time around as he did in 2016. So I don't see it being as heavily focused on, personally. And for kind of to piggyback on what Elijah was saying real quick, for anybody not familiar with the Jones Act, it's also referred to as the Merchant Marine Act of 1920.
Yeah. Makes everything in Puerto Rico ridiculously expensive.
It does, but it focuses primarily on transportation ships more than anything else. Specifically, it requires goods that are going between U.S. ports. They have to be transported on ships that are built, owned, operated by U.S. citizens or permanent residents, and so it prohibits foreign-built or foreign-flagged ships from engaging in trade along the coast inside the United States. And so upending that or ending that potentially does see some increase in trade, because that opens up more shipping lanes essentially at that point.
Yeah, I think tariffs are going to be a big issue.
I think so as well.
Well, I mean, part of the mandate from voters was to bring the prices down, and I think tariffs are going to do the exact opposite of that. The prices are too high.
Right, but well, we've seen this happen in the past. Like you look at the protectionist tariffs that were put in place by Thomas Jefferson, it was incredibly damaging to our economy, because they would just tariff the shit out of us right back, and so it would make exports just incredibly unprofitable for the U.S. And it wasn't until You get to Andrew Jackson in 1832, where we move away from the protectionist tariffs, aside from what is referred to as the tariff of abomination, but that happened later on. Um, but it was in 1832 with the Jackson administration, Andrew Jackson, that during his presidency we actually end up with the first and only time the United States has operated with a budgetary surplus. It is the only time in American history where we have had a budgetary surplus.
We were on track to have one at another time, and that was because of the .com bubble.
Yeah,
Clinton
yeah,
era.
but that was the .com bubble was one of those very early predicted bubbles that like everybody knew what was coming, but still people kept shoveling money into the fire, and then when it exploded, it left a lot of people holding the bag.
Yes, it
Not
did.
as bad as the housing bubble, but the big difference between those is the .com bubble starts in the 90s, ends around 2000, 2001 is when it pops. Whereas the housing bubble, which really isn't a housing bubble, it was the mortgage-backed security bubble, kicked off in the mid 80s
And no
and
subprime
had been,
mortgages.
yeah, with subprime lending and subprime mortgages dating
Mm-hmm.
back to the mid 1980s, and then getting ramped up under the Clinton administration, expanding subprime lending, and then the Bush administration not paying attention to any of it, and then letting more and more and more of it happen, saying like, "Oh yeah, it's a good thing. It's putting people in houses. Here, we'll give them more," not realizing that the entire time that all these securities are getting filled with just bigger and bigger just piles of crap.
Now, there's another issue too. Um, Pardoning the January 6th rioters, the quote unquote patriots,
Oh yeah.
or quote
Uh,
hostages from what Trump says. I mean, he wants them to be freed.
Many of them have already served their time and are out.
But
yeah,
he's
some of
vowed to
them.
pardon. He's
Right.
vowed to pardon a large amount of them.
Well, having a
Possibly.
felony on your record might make it hard to get some jobs.
Yeah.
Wouldn't seem to stop you being in the Trump administration, though.
I mean, almost seems to be a requirement at this point.
Trump 2024, you cheated and still lost? Hello, Jill.
I don't think they should be given clemency for the aggressive, violent things they did.
Well, there's a difference between, yeah, but yeah, no, I don't think they should be pardoned for that. Yeah.
Like the actual assault charges and stuff,
Yeah.
and worse. Well, they were all charged in federal court. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
If it had been like a D.C. Circuit Court, he wouldn't have been able to pardon them.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm confused about these state charges, because the president can't pardon himself from state charges, right?
Right.
Just federal ones, which they're already they're winding those investigations up. I mean, Jack Smith's packing up and getting ready to leave.
Yeah, and then there was the the whole debacle with the classified documents trial in Florida.
Right, but that's a federal case, though.
Yeah, that's a federal case.
But the RICO charges in Georgia are not,
No, the Georgia RICO charges are not.
are also state charges.
Yeah, I think. Well, still, in all honesty, the reason why I harp on the classified documents case and everything like that is how there was not an automatic recusal of Cannon. It boggles the mind. It's like, yeah, they put the case in front of a Trump appointee. That's going to go well. And then all the nitpicks that she's doing have nothing to do with the actual facts of the case. They have to do with her bitching about, oh, I don't want to go to a skiff to look at these things.
Well, Dan asks, isn't most of the insurgents part of the Proud Boys extremist group?
No, it's not. Proud Boys is actually a hell of a lot smaller than people realize.
Yes.
They were just loud.
I mean, I think there was some there, but not.
There were some there.
Yes.
There were some there, but they were by no means.
They weren't the majority of the crowd there. By no.
Right.
Yeah, no, there were a ton of people there.
I mean, Dave McCormick, who just got elected as senator here in Pennsylvania, he paid for 2 buses that led out of my county seat and went to January 6th. And he paid for them.
Yeah.
Some news update. Trump just put on his Truth Social he's not going to hire Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley. So he goes like hires a dummy, then says not going to hire a dummy. So he like literally just goes up and down. Like good thing, bad thing, good thing, bad thing.
Yeah.
So
well, thank God my pillow guy isn't going to have a cabinet position. I can imagine Secretary My Pillow guy.
That's Mike.
Oh, Jesus.
Mike Pompeo is the.
I know who Mike Pompeo is, but I was just saying, thank God that Mike Lindell is not getting a cabinet position.
Yeah, right.
Because he already said that before.
Yeah, I've seen hidden camera footage of him at freaking CPAC this past year. That dude is out to lunch and then some.
Lindell?
Mike Lindell is
yelling at a 12-year-old. Did you see that one?
I did.
I saw that.
I mean, but no, like the stuff he was saying at CPAC, man, like, oh my gosh.
Do you guys know who they're trying to make as press secretary?
Alex Jones, or at least Alex Jones is trying to be a press secretary.
No.
Oh God.
Not just Jones. It's like some of Elon's team, even some pro-Trumpers.
No.
They're trying to do it.
Well, that would be ridiculous.
I mean, well, hey, you know what? I guess they can bond over the fact that they've both had multi-million-dollar judgments against them for saying scummy shit.
I'm gonna be
being a general scumbag
off every time there's a press conference.
I don't see how Alex Jones should be allowed near any of that. He's just too batshit crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I think
I could have tolerated Joe Rogan as press secretary more than I could tolerate Alex Jones.
Yeah, no, I think this is
both, and they're kind of similar levels of crazy.
Secretary of State
Joe
Hogan.
Just Joe stays stoned enough that he's not really a problem.
Imagine Hulk Hogan.
Secretary of State Hulk Hogan, and Secretary of Transportation be like the pillow guy.
We actually sent some of their friends suggestions on who they should pick.
Maybe Dana White can get in there too.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
put
him as HUD secretary because the early days of UFC were all about exploiting low-income families for fighters.
There you go.
Return Dana to his roots.
We send them a list of what they should do or who they should put in positions. We'll see how influential we are. But we got Secretary of State Douglas McGregor, Secretary of Treasury Ron Paul, Secretary of Defense Larry Wilkerson, Attorney General Ken Paxton or Ryan himself, Ryan Dawson. Secretary of Interior, Elon Musk. Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Massey. Secretary of Commerce, just get rid of it. Secretary of Human Service, RFK Jr. Secretary of Education, Rye's brother. Chief of Staff, Peter Navarro. Press Secretary, Ryan Hastings. Secretary of Labor, David Stockman. Secretary of Energy, Ron DeSantis. Secretary of Transportation is... Oh, we didn't have that one? Yeah, we don't have transportation. So get rid of it.
Isn't Ron Paul getting a little old? How
He's
old is he
89.
now?
Yeah, he's 89.
Jesus.
But there's some talk, rumor within Elon's friends that they're going to try and have him and Elon work on cleaning up some fraud.
Work on what?
Cleaning up fraud and the like ton of spending that goes to just crap. Like there's I think Rand Paul puts out like every yearly report on like the crap that trillions of dollars will go into, and they just want to clean that up.
I doubt anything will actually get cleaned up.
We'll see. I mean, it's just totally like strange. He puts a neocon in as chief of staff, and he says, "I'm not hiring these two neocons in any of my positions." So it's like, what are you doing? I don't know.
Well,
It's very contradictory.
very
contradictory. It's not very confident in what he's doing. So I don't know.
I just don't see them actually getting rid of any bloat spending, especially with Elon Musk at the helm, because Elon Musk floated companies on government bloat spending in California with this stupid Hyperloop nonsense.
His contracts. He's also a big Bitcoin guy, so maybe he's trying to do something with Bitcoin or implement it or something. I don't know.
No, like I was saying, ultimately he's an accelerationist. He is someone who quite literally wants to see the end of rule of law in the United States.
So he's an Austrian? I don't know.
No, Musk does. Musk does.
Yeah. No, I didn't know he was an Austrian.
No, he's South African.
No. I don't think you guys got the joke. It's okay though.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
About Austrian School of Economics.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But yeah, you got it, Drew. But yeah, no, we'll see. We're gonna see. I'll keep y'all updated in Discord or whatever. But I do gotta go eat right now, so I'm gonna go head on now. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh yeah, you have fun. Thanks for coming, Elijah.
Peace.
Peace.
That was fun.
That was absolutely fun. I can't believe that he got it that close, though, in his predictions. I mean, he was really damn close.
Yeah, as much as he digs into this kind of stuff on a regular basis, I'm not surprised he got as close as he did. It's like I figured he would get close. I wasn't sure definitely didn't think he would nail it that close. But
I guess I was being too hopeful and not realistic. It can happen.
I think a lot of people were. They just didn't want to see things for what they were. They didn't want to see it for, and I think a lot of it comes down to the fact of there has been so much hardcore demonization of Trump and just the right as a whole, the entirety of the Republican Party, when that's not the majority of the people who vote for Republicans. Generally speaking, most people, like when you go through and you look at the Gallup polls, the exit polls, and things like that, you look at the reasons why people vote for the parties they do, and you have more single issue voters that vote for right-wing politicians than anything else. Most of them are single issue voters.
Right.
Because I know tons of people, even amongst my own friend group, that are like, we don't like Donald Trump at all, but Kamala Harris is hardcore anti-Second Amendment, so we can't vote for
her. I don't know how they could say that she was hardcore anti-Second Amendment. She owned guns. You know, as a district attorney and former attorney general, it's probably a good idea for her to have a gun.
Right, but she was always a rules for thee and not for me type of person. You look at how she handled things as a district attorney.
Well, I'll tell you this: in the running in the lead up to the election, both candidates expressed an interest in legalizing marijuana.
Yep.
Both of them did, but they both stated it in a different way.
Yeah.
Like Kamala Harris said that, yeah, she had no problem with it being legal, and Trump said, I think it should be left to the states.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with one, that could be rescheduling. With the Kamala Harris plan, that could be rescheduling. But with the Donald Trump plan, the only way to do that is to actually deschedule it. You have to take it
Yeah.
right off the Controlled Substances Act.
Right, but your hardcore anti-drug law Republicans don't hear that when he says leave it up to the states. They see it as, oh, he's 10th Amendment.
And that also goes, just descheduling it would go against the UN Convention on dangerous drugs,
Yeah.
as they call it, that we made everybody else sign.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to go about it, but I just hope that they do it. Be nice.
Yeah. Honestly, I just want them to make it where we can buy a Toyota Hilux in the United States now.
Yeah. Well, like the tariffs, the whole idea of the tariffs when he was giving his campaign speeches was to not have like European and Chinese cars and stuff like that sold here. He doesn't even want them. And I'm like, but the majority of our car parts that we put in our cars also come
Yeah.
from there. Like all the airbags, we don't make airbags here
Nope.
at all, anywhere.
No, we haven't made airbags in the United States since the 1980s.
And they will be subject to those tariffs. So
Yep.
that'll make the price of domestic cars go up too.
That's going to make the tires are going to
Oh yeah,
skyrocket
yeah,
price because the majority of those are imports.
we don't make tires anymore, really. Hardly,
There
hardly.
are a couple of places that do, but most of them, like even people are like, "Oh, I only buy Bridgestone and Firestone." Guess what? They're made in Indonesia and they import them over here.
Yeah,
Like, um, and then all of your electronic components, virtually all of them are made by Samsung.
absolutely.
So now you're going to be paying those duties on importing all the electronic components. All of virtually every vehicle starter that exists on any modern vehicle, almost all of them are made by Mitsubishi.
Well,
So
go
now
figure.
you've got an import. Now you got a tariff on that.
Mm-hmm.
Alternators, almost all of those, um, even the ones made by AC Delco, are assembled and manufactured in the Philippines and in Indonesia. So guess what? More tariffs on those parts as well.
Radiators too. Don't forget radiators.
Oh yeah, no, we can't forget radiators. We can't forget radiators because we don't make thin metal shit in here anymore,
No.
except for the government, and then we sell the off castings as glue.
What? Wait. Reynolds Wrap is really proud that their aluminum foil is made in America. I'm like, okay, but whose aluminum are you making that from?
Right. Well, actually, believe it or not, they do get most of it from inside the U.S. because we still run quite a few bauxite mines that
It's
they
only
use for.
slight. It's only their domestic aluminum is just over 50%.
Yeah.
So a good portion of it is like Chinese aluminum or something.
Yeah. I mean, so like we'll see even things like aluminum foil go up in price.
Oh yeah.
Um, um, your throwaway foil roasting pans that you use every Thanksgiving, they're going to start costing you more money next year. Um,
I'm assuming that all the dollar stores are going to switch to, like much more dollar stores because all of the stuff inside them are made in China pretty much. Well, except for the food stuff.
yeah.
Everything else is
Yeah.
Chinese. Everything else in there.
Yeah. Just
Um,
about.
a
Just
pair
about
a
everything
pair
in
of
there.
earbuds is going to go up.
Yeah, either that or the just a dollars, everything's a dollar, and Dollar Trees are going to just completely collapse and go out of business.
It's a good possibility.
I definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, I live next to a town that has $3 stores in it. So
yeah. I see that happening.
Yeah.
I see prices skyrocketing on Amazon
hmm hmm Well, just
because
if nobody noticed, if like people order stuff from Timu,
right,
like they
that
had
came
to
from
notice
China.
everything on there went up a little bit.
Yep. No more. Your price of computers is
Oh
skyrocketing
goodness. Yeah, that's
because yeah, for
cell
those of you,
phones.
everything,
Oh God.
everything. For those of you that don't know, all of your semiconductors, all of them. Yes, we broke ground on building a semiconductor manufacturing facility in the United States.
But that's going to take
That
a
thing,
long time to be
that
built.
thing will not be ready to roll its first chips off the line until at least 2032. So that is 8 years from now at minimum. That's assuming everything goes perfectly. But all of your semiconductors, all of your silicon that's used in your computer chips, your CPUs, your graphics cards, all of those things
hmm
are made in Taiwan. Virtually all of them are made in Taiwan. Almost all of Taiwan's economy runs off of manufacturing small components. And that's going to drive costs up through the roof. And people think the cost of buying new computer components now is insane. Just you wait.
Dan says that our only a pound UK currency stores slowly disappeared since 2008.
Yep.
So yeah, they're already closing over there. It won't be long
No, no, I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be.
because like they're going to lose a whole lot of their profit margin with those tariffs.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think they're going to lose any of their profit margin.
Well, they'll lose
They're just,
customers.
yeah, they're going to like they're either going to go under because all the prices are going to be going up to at minimum be the same as if you were to go to Dollar General or Family Dollar,
Right.
um, and at which point now you've got an overly saturated market of lower cost or what is basically bigger convenience stores as opposed to an actual grocery store, and they're just going to collapse, or there will be essentially a a brand war with Dollar General and Family Dollar versus all of them. Or hey, all of you that like shopping at Aldi,
Oh
the
yeah,
German grocery
Aldi's.
store, everything in that store is imported. Everything.
We don't have one of those over here.
They've become fairly ubiquitous in a lot of areas in the South.
We have them here.
They've shown, yeah, they've got them in Pennsylvania. They've shown up a lot in different places in Texas. You're going to start seeing those prices go up in the U.S. because literally everything in there is imported.
Absolutely.
Um,
Right.
and unless the protectionist tariffs are going to be specifically targeting goods manufactured or shipped out of or this that or the other in China, I don't really see that happening because unless they do it across the board, it's not going to generate any revenue.
Well,
It's just not.
in the wintertime, a good portion of our fruits and vegetables come from South America. So,
Yep. Like what people don't seem to realize is that tariffs are going to hit everybody like a freight train
oh yeah,
from orbit.
people thought the prices were high now. Just wait till the tariffs start hitting.
Yeah,
I mean, at least we're producing our own domestic gasoline, so that won't get hit with a tariff.
thankfully. Although we import most of the crude,
But what?
like something like 50 or something percent, something like that. Um, it was on the YouTube stream.
Yeah, are you on all chat, the live chat, all, or just top?
Yeah. I don't see it.
Oh, I just have Top Chat on. I need to switch it to live.
I see it.
I've got it on.
It was right after the "this is lots of information" head go kaboom.
Yep.
I didn't know they had
Okay,
Aldi's in the UK.
I had to switch it to top messages instead of all messages for some reason.
Mine defaults to that unless I tell it to show everything. I keep forgetting about that because I completely missed when Platium first kicked in and Sharon Ferguson and then rebuke and reprove
Yeah, that's Jill.
Jill.
No,
yeah,
no,
Jesus.
not yet, Palladium. We don't have enough subscribers yet.
Yep, gotta have over 1,000.
Yeah, so subscribe, people.
Yeah,
It's
please.
like over 1,000 subscribers and then like something like 4,000 watch hours.
Right, and remember to hit that like button while you're here. So,
Yep,
because that helps.
indubitably.
So, and then like I'm planning on going into a lot more detail on the next one.
Okay.
So, because there's
Yeah,
little pieces of this policy that probably of these policy the promises. Okay, the promises made that Trump has made, and the ones that we think he's going to keep.
Okay, so that's what we're going to focus on, is really drilling down into that tomorrow.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Because today it's more general.
In case anyone doesn't know, we're going to be doing another tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Same time.
We're
going to be doing another.
Same bad channel.
So, if anybody's interested in joining for tomorrow's discussion,
I can't.
You are.
Aldi's. Do you have them in the Netherlands, Palladium?
I would think so, because Aldi's
huge.
German. Well, it's also German, and so they're really prevalent in Central Europe.
Yeah, we definitely. I've never seen one here, so that's not something.
Wow.
In my area.
Yeah, they haven't made it out to the West Coast. I don't think.
I'm thinking that maybe Aldi started over there and then finally came to the East Coast here, and then has slowly been working their way west.
It's possible. You know, their own little version of westward expansion, just with less violated treaties with the natives.
How about Walmart's, Palladium? Do you have Walmart's up there? They don't have them in South Africa. I know that.
I think Sweet Pea said that there's like it's like a Walmart, but it's called something else.
Mm-hmm.
But it's owned by Walmart.
Okay, it's owned by the Waltons.
Well, everything's gonna their stuff's gonna be cheaper than ours because I don't think they're the ones gonna be slapping tariffs on everything Chinese.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I think two things that we're going to see happen is we're still going to see costs of groceries go up and keep going up, especially with the likes of Kroger, because they look for every excuse they can to raise prices. And even though the majority of their product is not imported, they're still going to say, "Oh, well, with the tariffs and everything, we had to raise prices."
I think there's going to be a slash to benefits too.
Yeah, I think we're going to see slashes to Medicare.
Oh yes. My one of my family members said goodbye SNAP, goodbye Medicare, goodbye.
Well, so SNAP is not. So in most cases, SNAP is a state level program, not a federal program.
Right.
So I don't see SNAP going anywhere. I don't see SNAP disappearing. I don't see TANF disappearing. But I do.
Well,
I do see a potential cut to federal Medicaid, and I do see
SNAP
cut to Medicare.
But pressure gets put on them.
Right.
to
Um.
cut the benefits.
Okay. Palladium just said in the chat that tariffs aren't so bad. Switching is bad and disrupts the market for a while. Tariffs in general. And
Right.
now I would agree. I would agree if we had more manufacturing capability here in America.
Hmm.
We have shut down so much of our manufacturing and moved it overseas.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like tariffs. Like okay, so tariffs are generally speaking neither good or bad. But the problem with tariffs is that no matter how they're implemented, they are more likely to do more harm than good. Because when you really look at it, when you really look um, at tariffs being good or bad, is because you have to look at it in terms of trade gains. Are our trade gains going to be larger than the negative effects? If so, then yes, the country will benefit from it. But if there are not going to be actual trade gains that exceed the negative effects of tariffs, then it's still going to overall be a loss. So unless it is heavily stacked in our favor from the get go, it's going to end up bad. And the reason being is it's going to lead to higher prices across the board on a lot of things, because you're going to start seeing potentially you're going to start seeing trade wars
Oh yeah.
amongst producers, um, which will most likely lead to some pretty severe economic decline. And so it's not that we're waiting for something to it's going to be squirrely for a while and then it's going to be all okay again. No, it's generally speaking, it takes a generation or more to bounce back
Oh yeah.
from a bad tariff decision. We've already seen this happen. I mentioned this earlier, but we've already seen this happen, Palladium, in the United States back in the early 19th century with the isolationist policies and the protectionist tariffs put in place by the Jefferson administration, which was really damaging to our economy.
Well, Palladium says, yeah, but on the very long term, it will balance out again. Salary will increase, prices will increase, and it will just be the old situation again. But you can get fucked if salary doesn't increase. Then you're screwed and you get robbed.
And salary's not going to increase. It's
Definitely not
simply
at the
not.
same pace.
No.
It never does.
No, just like in the United States alone, the cost of secondary and post-secondary education, so college level education, has increased over 1,500% in the last 20 years. But the average rate of wage growth across the board has only been approximately 15%
Mm-hmm.
in that same span of time. So we're talking a 100x disparity in cost of an education versus what benefit that education is going to have for you economically in your actual paycheck long term. That sounds about right. Yeah, 10
Well,
more minutes.
they want to get rid of the Department of Education. They want to get rid of the Department of Education too, and that means no more federal minimum standards, right? So that means the states can go crazy with their standards, and
Yeah,
already they have some flexibility. You give them I mean, we're gonna have schools just teaching Christianity.
yeah,
Some of them.
yeah. I do. Yeah, because if there is no federal standard, then yeah, you're going to see a lot. I think you're going to see a lot of state level decisions in some of the Bible Belt states
Hmm.
where we regress by decades in quality of education.
Oh yeah. And
Um,
it's not like we're doing great right now because if we were doing better, we wouldn't have flat earthers. Come on, really?
yeah, no. Honestly, I think flat earthers are kind of born out of the young Earth creationist movement. I really think that that's kind of where they come from.
But yeah, yeah, I think we need some kind of federal minimum standards for education in the
We
United
do.
States. Yeah. So getting rid of the
We
Department of
definitely do.
Education would be like a huge mistake, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very much so. For
Okay.
sure.
Well, I'm glad we agree on that one. Yeah, you just
So yeah, if anybody listening wants to join tomorrow,
we're gonna have
same
more room,
time.
and we'll have more room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Trying to think of anything else that kind of comes to mind. What I think, if they, here's the thing though, if they don't try to completely kill the Department of Education, I think what they will do first, instead of trying to just gun it down, I think they will try to use the Department of Ed to really push school choice and tax credit vouchers, basically forcing the general American taxpayer to subsidize rich douchebags sending their kids to expensive private schools.
yeah, I was just gonna say that exact same thing because that's where that leads.
Yeah, because that's always been the goal of the school choice movement. When you really look at it, whenever you catch them at like local city council, or you catch them at state level um, talks or state level meetings where they're pontificating about it, it all boils down to them just trying to subsidize private education and make uh, you and I pay for it so that they don't have to.
Yeah.
Whereas I've always been of the mind that the way tax money should be used for schools is it all goes into a big state fund, and the funds are dispersed evenly to all schools based on student body population.
Right.
And I think that would take care of a lot of the problems.
Well, and
It's not perfect by any means. There's a lot of other work that would need to be done, but it would be better than what we have now.
well, I live in such a terribly rural area that we have one of the largest by land area school districts in the state just to get enough kids in it.
Yeah,
I mean, they got to drive by. Some of these kids got to get up really early
yeah, I bet they do.
to catch the bus. So yeah, I definitely think that killing the Department of Education would be a bad thing, and I do believe that, like you said, that they can manipulate it into exactly that.
I mean, they already have managed to privatize student loan debt
Right.
with companies like Navient.
Well, if you default on them long enough, the Department of Education takes over.
Yeah, if you let them destroy your credit for long enough.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Just ruin your credit, and then the Department of Education takes your loan eventually,
eventually. Yeah.
and you'll have about a 300 credit score when you're done.
Yeah, yeah, if it survives that long,
you,
even.
you wouldn't even be able to, use credit to get a candy bar at that point.
I mean, people already do that even now. I
Right.
hate to say that.
Well, it's pretty easy to ruin your own credit. I did it, but then it
Yeah.
took years to repair it,
Oh yeah, it always takes longer to repair it than it does to destroy it.
and
I
it was my student loan that did it.
Yeah,
So
but there again, you take into consideration the fact that um, people think that credit scores have been around forever. No, they're only the same age as I am, 35.
yeah, they're
They
a
were
rather recent
invented,
thing.
they were invented and put in place in 1989, and it has just been a tool to further disenfranchise poor and middle class families.
I guess we're gonna have a pretty specific list for tomorrow. That'd be awesome.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah,
I have I have a topics list for tomorrow.
Cool.
Just a continuation, but on some other areas that we
right,
hadn't really gotten too much into.
yeah.
Right.
Well, was there any
So,
couple of rapid fire things we wanted to throw out
Well,
before?
one quick one. National abortion ban? Yes? No?
hey, that's
Maybe?
on my list.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Sorry. Never mind.
That's definitely
Never mind. Never mind. We'll save that one.
okay. I mean, like
That's a big one.
it's a big one, but honestly, it's a quick discussion. I hate to say,
We'll get to it.
but
Something else.
we'll get to it tomorrow. We'll get to it
Something else.
tomorrow.
I can't think of any more cabinet pick. Although Elijah had a list
Yeah,
that they're
he had a list
suggesting,
of who they were suggesting.
and like you said, Ron Paul, man, that dude's like 90. No, he doesn't need a
Yeah,
place in the government.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I saw him recently, and he looked like he needed a nap.
I mean, when you're 90 plus years old, you're already kind of gearing up for the big sleep. So, yeah, you know naps are kind of necessary at that point. But in all honesty, I don't know. I think Ron Paul would still be a better pick for a cabinet spot than Brainworm or FK Jr.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Like,
I can't believe where he said he's going to let him go wild on women's health and vaccines and all this stuff, and I'm like, this guy's an anti-vaxxer.
yeah, like this dude is in the Andy Wakefield camp, and
Yeah.
that's not cool.
As a matter of fact, he blames a vaccine for the way his voice sounds.
Yeah,
I think he just screamed a lot.
he did. He screamed a lot. He used to scream a lot.
All the freaking time. I can't
It's
imagine.
like Steve-O's voice, you know?
Yeah,
Steve-O's voice is all mangled.
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, Steve-O also, I think, had like a potential bout of like throat cancer or something like that, and they carved a chunk out or something like that.
Didn't seem to hurt Dave Mustaine all that much. His voice still sounds roughly the same, a little deeper, but roughly the same.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Man,
Well,
oh yeah,
just
I can imagine Dan being European is so strange while U.S. election time.
yeah, but unfortunately, when we talk about things like this, how goes the United States, so goes the world.
Well, it does seem that like a Trump win here is going to make a lot of the world lean a little further to the right, or try to.
Potentially, I mean, we've already seen a massive uptick in Australia um, in their heavily right leaning political party, in particular, what's called the Coalition or the Liberal National Party.
And there was a bit in the UK too.
Yeah, UKIP.
And then was it France or was it France? Man, it's escaping me right now.
Mm, if it wasn't France, it was Germany.
Somebody just elected somebody with some really right.
I
I'll
think
look it
it
up.
was.
I will look it up for
France.
tomorrow.
Well, by the time we get to the midterms, it could be a complete opposite situation.
This is
It
true.
depends. It depends on how they play the game.
It depends on even if we have midterms, right? Okay, France leaned left. Dan corrected me.
Okay.
Okay. Palladium. It emboldens politicians in other countries, and at the same time, the citizens in other countries feel like, why should we go for international teamwork if USA steps out, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did is NATO on your list?
It is.
Okay, I won't bring that one up either. That's
Well, we have rolled around to 7 p.m., so we have fulfilled our obligation of 2 hours.
absolutely. So I'm ready to call it a night. How about everybody else?
I think
Yep.
we've covered just about everything we could off the cuff. So, yeah.
All right then. Well, I thank everybody for coming, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for part 2. All right. Later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank everybody for coming. Remember to hit the like button, share, all of that. Have a good night.